Tombstone, Arizona.
Good luck.
Up next on today's Wild West, we'll walk the streets of that legendary Old West town, ride the desert trails of Doc Holliday, Wyatt Earp, and Geronimo at Tombstone Monument Ranch. Plus,
Say hello to my shotgun.
a tour of the Tucson movie studio where John Wayne and other stars made so many of their classic Western movies. Today's Wild West, up next. The Wild West. It's still out there. We'll show you how to find it. This is today's Wild West. Riders coming. On a hot day in the Arizona desert, horseback strangers ride into an Old West town. They tie up their mounts. Then spurs jingle as boots clomp on the wooden sidewalk as the strangers head for the saloon. Push through the swinging doors.
How about a cold round, you guys?
Pull up a seat at the big bar and order up a cold one. Looks like a scene out of the 1800s, or maybe some Western movie. But this is real life in the 21st century. Just another fun day at Tombstone Monument Ranch.
The only bar in the middle of the desert for miles.
This most unique member of the Dude Ranchers Association is laid out to look just like a town out of the Old West. But behind the doors of what appears to be the mining office, Miss Kitty's bordello, or Doc Holliday's dentist chair, are state-of-the-art rooms, decorated in an 1880s flair.
We live in the newspaper.
Jürgen von Wolf and his wife Karen were here from Germany on a springtime visit to the ranch, their 7th in just 5 years, with plans for 2 more trips by the end of the year.
It's the people, it's the scenery, it's the surroundings, it's the horses, it's the personnel.
A lot of people ask us, isn't that boring coming over to the same place? And I say, no, because we like horseback riding. We like the area, we like to go out, and that's it, we love it.
The couple have been to a dozen Dude Ranches over the years, but this place is like no other.
Coming out here is something for my wife and me to come back home.
The horseback riding is what keeps them coming back on trails that explore some 30,000 acres of pristine Arizona desert. Whether it's a gentle walking ride, or my favorite, those fast lopes offered for experienced riders, most every horseback trek begins with a ride down Main Street, past the authentic-looking buildings and the family-friendly Trapman Saloon. The Old West ambiance is really cool. The ranch is built on the site of the historic Trapman Ranch, which once included the stagecoach stop where history tells us Doc Holliday boarded the stage when he left Tombstone for good.
So anyway, there's a lot of history right here around this ranch. When you're walking around, you'll feel it, and it's just like walking the streets of Tombstone.
That famous town is just 2 miles away. We'll take you for a visit in just a bit. But even closer stands the namesake of Tombstone Monument Ranch, the 25-foot tall stone monument to Tombstone founder Ed Shefflin. The Apaches ruled this country when the prospector came here looking for gold. Friends warned all he'd find in the desert would be his own tombstone. And he came close one day when he hid out from an Apache war party in some rocks where that monument now stands, which you can visit on a trail ride. But when Shefflin discovered the silver strike that made him rich, he had the last laugh, naming his new town Tombstone, which would prove to be a fitting name. Here lies George Johnson, hanged by mistake, 1882. He was right, we was wrong, but we strung him up, and now he's gone. The historic Boot Hill Cemetery on the edge of Tombstone, a must-see, gives an indication of the often violent endings of the short lives of those who lived the Wild West. Boot Hill's most famous graves are those of the 3 men on the losing side of the gunfight at the OK Corral, that most legendary of all Old West showdowns, where members of the Clanton gang shot it out with Wyatt Earp, his brothers Virgil and Morgan, and the deadly dentist known as Doc Holliday. But not everybody thinks the Earps were the good guys.
If they'd have came back to Tombstone, they would have been tried, convicted, and hung for murder, because a lot of those cowboys were innocent, and the Earps just killed them anyway.
Arizona Bill shared his views on Tombstone's past during the fascinating history tour he hosts for Tombstone Monument Ranch. Bill takes you to the old courtroom where killers were sentenced and the gallows outside where that grim sentence was carried out in the courtyard. The courthouse itself is filled with authentic memorabilia and displays telling the story of Wyatt Earp, Ed Shefflin, and other residents of this wide-open town.
There was 180 licensed saloons in the 1800s here in Tombstone. 3,500 licensed prostitutes.
Lady of sport.
We met a lady of sport, a reenactor of course, outside the very authentic Birdcage Theater, where you can see Doc Holliday's faro table, the horse-drawn hearse kept busy on trips to Boot Hill, and whose walls and ceiling are punctured with hundreds of bullet holes. Known as the town Too Tough to Die, all of Tombstone looks much like it did when Wyatt and Doc walked the wooden sidewalks here. Even visiting members of the U.S. Army admire the grit it must have taken to survive here back in the day.
Pretty impressive. Just the history of it. As we were driving out, we were just wondering back, in those days of the cowboys, of how they crossed the lands through here, is the way it is laid out. It's just amazing. Yeah.
How would you navigate from point A to point B?
They didn't have Siri or a GPS back then.
We met those soldiers outside the Gunfighter Hall of Fame, where you can see the weapons owned by Doc Holliday, the Dalton Gang, and other Western legends. Big Nose Kate's is among the popular historic saloons, where you can also book a private tour of the town.
You get the real history, you find out which buildings are authentic from the 1800s, you find out where the gunfight happened and why it happened. I do the real version, not Hollywood.
Last gunfight show of the day, right inside the Gunfight Palace.
Gunfights are always a big draw, but there's none more popular than the one everyone comes here to see, the reenactment of the gunfight at the OK Corral. But the Earps and Doc Holliday are happy to pose for a picture before they bravely stride off to face down the Clanton Gang. As cool as it is, Tombstone is only the best known part of this area's rich frontier history, and there may be no one who has more fun showing it off than Arizona Bill.
The satisfaction of showing someone something that they don't know is, you can't buy that.
Touring the desert outside Tombstone with Arizona Bill is fascinating. There are all kinds of abandoned mining claims and the ruins of old ghost towns like here in Cortland, once a thriving mining community. We also saw the site of the ghost town of Pierce and Gleason with its long abandoned mercantile, the ruins of an old hospital, and the jail tree.
They didn't have a jail here. So the constable would handcuff the prisoner, one cuff on his arm, the other cuff on this cable. Rain, shine, sleet, or snow, he was chained to this jail tree.
Driving through the desert, you can see the signs of many a mining claim. People still come out here to prospect for gold, and some even find it.
A lot of you northern people come out here, spend the winter, and they prospect all winter long. Most of the time, they'll find enough gold or whatever to justify the cost of their trip.
I can tell.
Back at the ranch that night, the hunt for gold continues at the poker table. Looks like Wyatt Earp himself is dealing the cards for a friendly play money game of Texas Hold'em, with instructions included.
Well, this is Wyatt Earp. As far as teaching Texas Hold'em, I'm not sure anybody's learning, but so far we're having fun.
One pair, two pair.
Rookie gambler Elsa was having a good run of beginner's luck.
Nice.
Cleaning up on this night, a great way to wind up what had been a very fun day.
Yeah, you're playing. Just a
Oh.
But there's more to come in the morning.
It's a place where a lot of history has happened here, good and bad.
As we explore the Apache history of this country on a trip to Geronimo's Cochise Stronghold. We'll be right back. Sunrise at Tombstone Monument Ranch. Horses quietly come to life in the corral as the warm rays of the sun light up the old frontier-style buildings and the historic monument in the desert. Soothing moments. One of the things I just love about Tombstone Monument Ranch is the peace and quiet. Love the horses, and it's great fun to experience the Old West, but it's also good for your soul to escape the madness out there for just a bit and enjoy the stillness of the desert. Quiet mornings are also a great time to visit the horses. Later, there'd be breakfast around the chuck wagon campfire with Arizona Bill.
Thank you.
All right, we ready? Give him a good kick and follow me.
And the day's first ride.
It feels like we're staying on a movie set.
Steve and Katina McGrath are here from Connecticut and having a blast horseback in the desert.
Having a great time.
This is just wonderful.
You get the whole Western experience. We just love it.
We saw all kinds of people having fun here on horses, ranging from young children
How you doing?
to a new friend who was still riding at the age of 94.
Hope you do it 104.
The ranch has no weight limit for riders, which is why Wrangler Regina was getting new arrival Bravo ready for some of the ranch's bigger clientele.
Yes, that's a large critter, isn't he?
He is. But he's very gentle.
But this is also the place to come for those who are serious about riding. Fast rides are offered here for those who can pass the fast ride test, and the ranch offers lessons for newcomers who want to join that fun. It is cool to lope through the desert on the same trails where Wyatt, Doc, and the Apaches once rode. There's all kinds of terrain and lots to see, like an old abandoned railroad trestle, not far from the mystical petroglyphs left behind by the ancient peoples who once lived in this country.
It's a place where a lot of history has happened here, good and bad.
The ranch can connect you with a Yaqui Indian known as Charlie One Horse, who offers a tour of the rich Native American history of this land, focusing on the rugged area known as Cochise Stronghold.
What happened on Signal Hill there? That's where Cochise rode his horse up and put a pole with a white flag on it when he made peace with the whites.
Even today, it takes some effort to get to this place, where the Apache chief Cochise and his followers held off the invading Mexicans, Anglos, and U.S. soldiers for years.
So we're going to walk in here.
Geronimo was here as well.
That's where he used to sleep, in there. He had a vision that he would never get killed by a bullet. You know, that a bullet would never kill him. And it was true.
This is where peace talks were conducted in hopes of ending the bitter fighting that claimed so many lives on both sides.
Different generals would come, and they wanted Cochise and his tribe to leave this area. And Cochise stood firm with the fact that he wanted to be here. This is his land. This is his homeland. This is where he wanted to be, and his people, with his people.
The Cochise Stronghold gave the Apaches the ability to see their enemies coming from miles away, even days. It's pretty cool today to be able to walk around where Cochise and Geronimo once stood, not to mention the amazing views. This area was sacred ground to Native peoples long before anyone ever heard of the United States. Inside rock shelters where the Apaches sought refuge from harsh weather, there are more petroglyphs that may be thousands of years old. Mysterious symbols of snakes, lightning, ant people, and a supernova that flashed in the sky here 1,500 years ago.
One of the talks that we had with elders was some believed it was a supernova, other people believe it was like a UFO. We believe we're children of the stars, and that we come from the stars and we will go back to the stars.
Charlie also showed us the grinding stones where Native people prepared their foods and gave us a taste of what they ate. His lunchtime snacks included corn nuts, the root of the yucca plant, which natives pronounce as yucca, and even prickly pear.
Prickly pear, you taste it? It's very good.
Charlie's captivating excursion into Native American culture even included an ancient blessing song, a 2,000-year-old call to live in love, beauty, and harmony.
High windy, high windy. This is a very powerful place. There's people that come, and these Apaches told us one time that people hear flute playing, somebody playing a flute. But they look around, they don't see anybody. The Apaches call them the invisible people. They're the caretakers of this area. There's just so much more than just what you see. It runs really deep.
Later that day, we'd be back at the ranch and back in the saddle. Or maybe at the archery range, getting a lesson on the bow and arrow.
Aha, look at that. I'm getting close to the target. Actually, this is very fun. I'm glad I did this.
And even after the sun goes down, there was still more fun in store at the saloon.
And the table's good, place your bets.
Where a good-natured pistol-packing dealer named Grumpy was presiding over a fake money, kid-friendly game, a faro.
Kennedy, we win. Good job.
Okay?
Quite a place, this Tombstone Monument Ranch. A place really like no other. A historic retreat that features the best of the modern world, a soothing break from all of its hassles, Some truly unique opportunities to step back into the past. And perhaps best of all kinds of great horseback riding for people of every ability level. No wonder people like our German friends come back time and again. I think I'll have to join them. Coming up, we'll visit the Tucson studio where John Wayne Westerns were filmed.
Oh my God, that's what you're doing!
But first, saving a historic Western racetrack from the wrecking ball. It's a quiet Wednesday morning at Tucson's historic Rillito Park Race Track. The stands that were packed over the weekend with thousands of cheering fans are empty. Just a handful of jockeys and trainers are at work, exercising horses on the track. It's a beautiful sight, especially to Rillito General Manager Mike Weiss.
My favorite time is right now. I come out every morning. We don't have a lot of action this early for myself, but I come out every morning and stand right here and watch the horses just go around.
But this picturesque track would be history, if not for a group of determined Tucson businessmen who saved the birthplace of American quarter horse racing from the wrecking ball.
Well, it was a historical jewel that had just been neglected, and so a bunch of us got together and started a foundation and raised funds and monies to restore it.
First opened in 1943, Rillito Park was built by J. Rukin Jelks. Jelks had left his family's Arkansas farm to seek relief in the dry desert from tuberculosis, which also afflicted a friend by the name of Melvin Haskell.
You know, on the weekends, the only fun was to have one cowboy run his quarter horse against another cowboy's quarter horse. And the horses lacked what's called last, and they just couldn't get that last distance for the quarter mile. So they had the smart idea of importing thoroughbred studs from Kentucky and started crossbreeding the thoroughbred stallions with the quarter horse dams. And within 3 years, every world champion quarter horse came from Tucson. Famous horses, Pig and String, Hard Twist. I mean, it's a litany of the history of Hall of Fame horses for the American Quarter Horse Association.
The horses were so fast, the track pioneered the photo finish, still in use today. The American Quarter Horse Association recognized the historic significance of Rillito when it dedicated a historical marker at the track back in 1996. But over the years, Rillito deteriorated to the point where there were serious proposals to demolish the aging facility and replace it with soccer fields. That's when Jay and his partners stepped in.
The real reason that I got involved was because of a former life. I was a preservationist architect and got involved with it that way. Through our families, we've been involved in thoroughbred racing for a long time, so it just had all of the particulars, the location of the track, and so it was something that was not being stewarded properly.
Wells' enthusiasm for saving the track was contagious. White Stallion Dude Ranch owner Russell True was among the Tucson business leaders who signed on to help.
Well, I wanted to get involved because I believed in the vision. I've watched this area, Tucson in southern Arizona, an area with almost unparalleled southwestern history, abandon it, neglect it, and ignore it for too long. I'm in the tourism business. We have so much to offer and we keep forgetting that. And here was the birthplace of quarter horse racing. Here was a historic facility with all kinds of stories wrapped around it, and we were going to leave it. We were going to put soccer fields in its place. I'm all for soccer, but there's all kinds of places to put soccer. You don't have to destroy history to do that. And in our vision, you can have a bit of both. So when I heard the story and I saw the opportunity and the way forward, I was lucky to be brought in to be part of it.
As the effort to save Rillito gained momentum, money, and political support from the county, it became clear a horse racing pro was critical to run the day-to-day operations. Veteran track manager Mike Weiss was lured from Florida to take the reins.
I have a feeling inside for these old tracks and these small tracks. I really do believe in the minor leagues to keep the sport going, and I do look at this as a sport. You know, we have 110-pound athletes during a 1,200-pound athlete going 35 miles an hour, and I just love that.
A major restoration effort has the track on the rebound, and the people of Tucson are stepping up. More than 12,000 race fans packed the stands for opening weekend, and the track's per capita race day attendance is among the best in the country.
It's the show, it's the entertainment, it's the whole fan experience, and you know, the first weekend, we had 12,000 people here screaming and yelling, and you knew you did something right.
Just the speed, the sheen of the horses, enjoying the crowds. It is a wonderful time at Rillito, it really is.
The resurrection of Rillito is especially important to those who make their living in Arizona's horse racing industry.
It's very, very important to me. My mother trained here. I've had 3 generations of my family work here. My daughter ponies here. My significant other is a jockey, Don French. So, you know, our livelihood, it depends on the health of the racing industry in Arizona.
Rillito also shares a close relationship with Tucson's University of Arizona, which Weiss says has the biggest racetrack industry training program in the world.
Even though this is our first season tying in with them, we've already had students getting scholarships, getting awards, and getting jobs.
We're very pleased with the progress we've made so far. We're very grateful that we've been given a chance to save it.
She looks good.
The foundation's lease on the property has been extended. More work is planned to revitalize the facility, and Mike Weiss will have plenty more chances to savor his morning coffee while watching those beautiful horses go by on the track.
Stuff that we had to do to get it started is behind us, and just a lot of dreams to move forward because I see a great future here. I see a diamond in the rough.
Next stop on today's Wild West, Old Tucson, where many a favorite Western was filmed.
It's so fun and amazing. They have gunfight shows, but no one gets hurt.
Welcome to Old Tucson.
It's magical. I'm 11 years old mentally. What do you think? You walk through here.
Tucson, Arizona's movie studio and theme park that's been putting the Old West on the silver screen since 1939, when William Holden and Jean Arthur came here to film the movie Arizona. Members of the local Papago Indian tribe helped to make more than 350,000 adobe bricks used to recreate the Tucson of the 1860s, with more than 50 buildings, many of which still stand today. In the years that followed, Old Tucson became one of Hollywood's top Western locations, and today you can stand right where the stars did when they made those classic films.
John Wayne got shot in the leg. He came across the bridge. He was standing right here.
John Wayne, Jimmy Stewart, Paul Newman, Clint Eastwood, just a few of the stars who've worked here.
Anyone here remember who played the Indian chief in that movie?
And the tour guides are as thrilled as anyone else to walk in their footsteps.
69, early 70, John Wayne made his final film for Old Tucson, Rio Lobo, another gunfight that happened once again right behind that building. I have a passion for Western movies, you know, and all the characters that worked out here, all the famous people. I never dreamed I'd get to walk up and down the same streets that Randolph Scott and Audie Murphy did, you know, so it's a lot of fun. We're gonna get over this way, folks.
More than 300 movies and TV shows have been shot here.
The last scene in Tombstone, Kurt Russell and Dana Delaney danced in the snow at night. They shot that scene right over here. It was 92 degrees, and they were dancing on plastic snow when they shot that scene.
Old Tucson was home base for the High Chaparral TV show of the 1960s. That's the main ranch house used in the show. And towering above it is Golden Gate Peak.
That is very recognizable. You'll see it in over 350 productions. One more movie I'll mention is a movie called Cannonball Run 2. If you remember this movie, at the end they're at a hotel having a big fight. Look real close, folks. You're looking right at Golden Gate Mountain in the background. All they did was cover up the mission, made it look like a hotel.
And the studio's train, the Reno, is a real locomotive from 1872. Its passengers once included Presidents Ulysses S. Grant and Teddy Roosevelt. What's known as the most photographed locomotive in American history has starred in about 100 movies and TV shows.
It's been in movies like The Life and Times of Judge Roy Bean, The Gambler, Posse, Tombstone, Joe Kidd. Right there is where Kurt Russell got off the train station in the great movie Tombstone, and right out here is where he killed Frank Stillwell.
Back in the 30s and 40s, this designed a train.
Today you can take an excursion train on a loop around the Old Tucson property. On the street, there's lots of entertainment.
I'm one of the actors out here, so we do about 5 different shows every day.
I want to talk about saloons of the Old West.
And you can actually learn about the real Old West during your visit, like this fun history lesson on that frontier institution, the saloon.
I gotta tell you, there was an outlaw, a guy named Bob Younger, hung around with a kid named Jesse James. And he said, we're rough men with rough ways. And you couple that with alcohol and firearms, and I'll tell you what, there was usually a little bit of excitement in saloons.
Cat! Get back here! Chuck Norris! Come on! Thank you!
And the grand finale is the lighthearted but very impressive stunt show the studio puts on with all the action you'd expect to see in any first-rate Western.
Oh my God, that's what you're doing! Say hello to my shotgun! Here we go! Yeah!
Old Tucson is still a working movie studio. The new movie Hot Bath and a Stiff Drink is among the latest Westerns to shoot here at a legendary location rich in history, where those who love this place still feel its magic every day.
If you are interested in any kind of Western, cowboy, Western movies, Western films, this place is amazing. I'll tell you what, come some morning before we open up, get a guest pass, stand on the palace with a cup of coffee and look down the street when nobody's here. You'll get the idea how cool this place is.
That's it for now. We're back next time with more cool stuff from today's Wild West. I'm Mark Bedore. We'll see you down the trail. For more information on the people and places featured in today's Wild West, or to order show DVDs and books, visit todayswildwest.com.